Welcome to the Wally Report, MMA Savvy exclusive. Listen, the kings of MMA have returned and we're coming in hot. Today is round 7 of our award-winning Excuse the Savvy MMA series. This, of course, is your beloved host, Ari Weiss, alongside our fan-favorite co-host, Nico Takalakis. But what makes today so special is we're bringing in a new MMA expert into the mix. So please welcome in Big Rich Fulgoni. Rich, how you doing, my man?
Let's go, baby. Happy to be here, Ari. Nico, happy to be with you as well. Really excited to be able to defend myself here. I think there's been a lot of shame discussion around my picks coming from the chat, put out online to the folks, to the Sleaze fans, but I'm here to defend myself. Looking forward to getting into the mix. A great card last night. Let's get into it.
And so, yeah, this is big. So for the fans, for the savvy fans, you've been seeing, we've been calling out Rich a lot in the last couple episodes about our picks, about our feelings towards concepts and big MMA world topics. Now he's finally on the show. He brings in a wealth of knowledge. We've been hammering fight nights for a long time. You actually, and this is interesting, Nico, is that I talked to Rich on the side. Remember when we did our first episode and I did the whole history of MMA? And remember I told you I had that. So I started early. I clamped early in the early 90s. And then after that Shamrock Tito won, I bailed. So I bailed all the way to 2007. That's a shame because, Rich, when did you actually...
I kind of jumped in around 03, 04. So
exactly.
Like Couture, Liddell,
wow,
Tito, like when that division was where it was at, right? That was, the light heavyweights. It was Tito that got me into it. But then I loved Chuck and I couldn't wait to see Chuck knock Tito out. And Couture was still in the mix. Those guys were incredible. And it just grew from there. But yeah, I probably got heavy into it more around 07, 08. And then obviously, we jumped into it big when we saw Conor knock out Aldo at the Harp in Costa Mesa, baby.
Wait, were
big
you
win
with
for Richie
me
Boy
when that
night.
happened?
I do, yeah. We were sitting at 2 separate tables. You were sitting over
okay, so we were
your
already. I
roommates,
wasn't
Ricky
sure
and
if we
fans.
were already mobbing then. So you saw me go nuts and like screaming.
Yeah, so we actually had a bet. I had a bet with either you or Ricky at your table. So I ran across the bar to come over and collect my money. That's right.
Okay.
I just want to I want to give a warm welcome to Richie Boy. You've been like a shadow figure here. We've been talking about you. You haven't had an opportunity to defend yourself or to speak up. So we're really excited to have you join here. It's really great, and just welcome.
Yeah,
and
good stuff. I appreciate that, Nico. And just if I could just say something quickly, it is Mother's Day today. I don't know if you guys have been out in the streets yet, but everybody and their mom is out there. Okay, so I just want to give a little shout out to the Good Time Charlies. It's an inside joke. But happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Thanks for giving us a little break to jump on the mic here and discuss last night's events.
And
Great
so just anyway, going back to that history really quickly, Nico, and then we'll move on to the show, is I want to make this clear. Rich actually was watching when Wally was out. So I of course, went back and watched all those classic fights, but Rich watched some of those live when I wasn't watching from like 04 to 07. True. So you even have the better live experience of like when Couture beats Chuck, but then Chuck comes back with the revenge. Because I started right when Chuck had been dethroned by Rampage. I came back.
Yeah. Wow.
So I missed all those fucking years live, bro.
Yeah,
I'm almost pissed about it. Anyway.
Richie, were you part of the Ronda Rousey sort of rise that Ari was?
No, it was before I knew these guys.
Okay.
That was like a second wind of growth for the MMA, right? Like, because then that got to the point where my wife was already a fan. We watched cards together anyway, but I'd start to see my sisters and people that weren't involved in MMA. Ronda brought in a whole new group of casuals, and a lot of them stayed, right? Grew the sport. So that was a great era as well.
So, no, Nico, I had already done the MMA savvy stuff. Then I moved to Orange County later when I became a corporate goon. And then that's when I met Richie and Big Kev and all these other sleazes. And then we just rebranded Fight Nights. But yeah, they missed actually the MMA savvy era. But great question. Okay.
And I will mention, very much like you guys touch picks on this show, we would touch picks live and we would bet money either side of the TV. Pick your pony, baby. Let's go. And then end of the night. I was usually leaving with a fistful of dollars, and Ari was just turning on dance music. But we'll discuss that later.
So yeah, one day, Nico, when you take a work trip, Rich does Fight Nights, and then we'll do a live, and then maybe we'll actually start doing the recording live fight party stuff that we've been talking about. Okay,
you got to do that.
So let's talk about episode breakdown. Okay, what will the fans expect today? Maybe you're joining Excuses Savvy for the first time. Maybe you're already a diehard fan. Episode breakdown. What do we got? So recent card analysis, baby. We're going to go back briefly. I already covered it, but Sandhagen Figgy, just to get both of your guys' thoughts. I did hit it last week in the short episode, but there's still a couple, maybe you got some nickel comments that you want to throw out. Then, of course, last night, holy shit, it brought MMA back, baby. If it had, of course, it never left, but for people that needed a jolt, they needed a big fight. Muhammad Jackdella, although I have some major problems with it that we're going to unpack today. Big MMA news. What happened recently? And E.R. Whitaker is probably the biggest thing that just hit.
Yep.
And then we'll also just discuss UFC 317 and, all this Islam, Charles, Topuria, shit that's happening. We're going to unpack that, make sense of it for the viewer, and then just scream about Aspinall Jones one last time, even though obviously at this point there's no way that's happening for that card. I feel like we need to examine that again. And then, of course, everybody's favorite segment, this specific divisional analysis, 135 bantamweight, baby. Okay, that's going to be big. Now, and then also the final two things in the show, upcoming card analysis and our world famous fight picks, Burns versus Morales. That's the only one we have over the next couple weeks, so it's just going to be one card. And then we're going to end with a quick if you were to touch segment, if there's anything. And Richie, this segment, right? That's like if there's a gambling pick that's either a value pick or just something that we recommend to the fans that they got to hit.
Fair. Okay? I like that. And sometimes I'll dive even deeper because what I like to do in those sometimes touch a specific round and a KO by round because then you're touching like plus 3,000, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
We'll take a look at that.
Those are big.
I might not have good deep analysis for this card, and we'll talk about why. A little bit of a weak card.
Yeah.
Some no-namers on there, but, everybody's deserved their spot in the UFC, no disrespect. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that segment.
Okay, great. So before we get into the big part of the show, let's just take our first commercial break. Okay, and we're back to the show, baby. All right, guys, so here we go. Listen, I already covered it last week in my little short episode, but Sandhagen, Figueiredo, UFC Fight Night. It was actually a pretty, a fun night because it wasn't at the fucking Apex, as we keep bringing up. This is going to forever be a theme until Dana approves the goddamn Apex, but it was in Des Moines. I love a nice Midwest redneck drunken crowd, raucous. Yes. There was major noise and intensity, so I liked all that, right? Now, we don't need to go through this. I already have our picks. We already went through this. Me and Nico both went 3-3 for the night. Wasn't terrible, but I just wanted to bring this up. I already did my analysis on the DeRitter Bo Nickel. But Nico, I'll throw this to you. Did you agree with what I said? Is there anything additional that you want to get off your chest about the Nickel DeRitter fight and the ramifications and going forward?
Bo Nickel, let's just say I do think he's a class act, and he took his loss. I think with everything I've heard from him, he took it in stride and in a way that showed to me that he's serious. It was a setback, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning for him. Very disappointed with the way it turned out. He was able to get a takedown in the first round, which I agree with you, Ari. What was a good, step, but he just wasn't prepared to deal with the onslaught of what DeRitter brought, that all-around game that Ritter brought to the table here, and it showed, and it was tough to watch him get pretty much just dominated, manhandled. He just couldn't stand up with him. He couldn't take the body shots. They were just brutal, and he's going to have to learn and going to have to adjust. So I'm still excited for Bo's career. I still want to see what he's going to do and how he's going to adapt here. And then DeRitter is a force to be reckoned with. The news that just dropped that they have paired him versus Whitaker is phenomenal. I love this fight. Great fight. So I'll leave it there. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, Richie, on this.
Yeah, what do you say here, Richie?
Happy to jump in, man. So look, Bo Nickel, like you said, class act. I think, he took his lumps. I think he was a little outclassed. We all saw that, right? DeRitter is, maybe we weren't giving him enough credit coming in. The guy looked incredible coming from one. There's a reason he was a 2-division champ. There's no doubt. Nickel was someone, this goes to kind of sort of to my argument we've been talking about previously, right? I think the UFC has a little bit of a star problem right now. And what they did is they tried to gas him up, hype him up, put him too fast. We've seen them go very slowly with the likes of Sean O'Malley, right? Bring them along into the top 15 slowly and make them earn their part. I think he just got fast-tracked a little too much. He got outclassed. It's not his fault. He will be back. To your point, I think he's got the pedigree. He's got the spirits. Even for a wrestler, he's got great hands. So Bo Nickel will definitely be back stronger. You can tell he's got the mentality to rebound from this, and it's only going to make him a better fighter.
Yeah, and I agree. I just still, I was definitely a little bit bummed, a little bit disappointed because we had all believed it. Like, as you were mentioning, Rich, maybe he got fast-tracked too quick. Cormier and everybody was, oh my God, he's the best
and they
wrestler.
love wrestlers, of course.
He could beat Kamaev wrestling, so we got all trumped up. And he did get the takedown in the first round, if we remember, right? And then he just kind of he didn't do that much with it. DeRitter got up, and then he went for that guillotine, which was really dumb. DeRitter gets top position, and then that sort of changed the fight. And then in the second round, there just wasn't enough urgency from Nickel. He should have been shooting for takedowns immediately again, instead of trying to stand and bang with this guy. I don't know what he was thinking, even though I know DeRitter's dangerous on the ground. You can dominate with your wrestling. Why are you not doing it? And then boom, we just see. So the big news was DeRitter's the star. He's getting Whitaker. So anyway, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts. Now,
I'd like to say quickly, I think it was interesting that Duplessis had something to say about this, and he took a shot at him, right? Not everybody likes to take a shot at people when they're down. He chose to, I think, but he did want to show there's a clear separation between the hype trains and the guys that have already wrapped some gold around their waist, right? So he took a shot at him, thought that was interesting, said he quit. Right now, was it a clean liver shot that just took him out immediately? Was it the onslaught and that was the straw that broke the camel's back? Either way, like we discussed earlier, I don't think it matters. I think Bo gets stronger from this and returns, but I just thought it was interesting to see a little commentary from the peanut gallery of the champs.
Now, Richie, I also was he's 29 years old, so he's not super young.
It's true.
Right. But you're right. They have kind of fast tracked him faster than probably they should have, just based on where he is in his career and his experience level. But I do think, he's in the arena now. He's in, he's going to get better. He has to get better. He has to learn from this. He has to adapt. And just from his mentality, I think mentally, I really appreciated the way he responded to his own performance in some of the interviews I heard. So we still have a lot to see here.
Yeah, you're right, Nico. Mentality is huge, right? He's obviously got the physical gifts. He's got the hands. He's got the wrestling, right? The mentality is the thing that's going to take him to the next level if he's to become a champion in the UFC. So that's yet to be seen. But yeah, I agree. I think there's still a lot of road left in front of him.
I think here, guys, though, this is what I got to say. I think he's in big trouble, baby. I don't think you can look this bad. He can come back from it. Yeah, fine. But man, I don't know, man. This was not a great look.
I guess the question is does he really have good hands, right? Because against lesser talent, that was the surprising thing. Here comes this hot wrestler, and then we see him knocking people out, and we're like, holy shit, this guy's got hands too. He could be a real problem. And then he gets in there with someone else who's got a full MMA game and really good hands himself, and he has a big struggle with it and gets basically dismantled. So yeah, I hear you on both sides. I'd like to lean to think that he's going to learn from this and come back stronger. Yet to be seen. But to Nico's point, I think he has the mentality to do so if he gets around the right coaches or maybe just make some enhancements to his team.
Okay, so main event. Listen, again, I addressed this. It was kind of Sandhagen looked unbelievable, right? Figgy tried to wrestle him stupidly. He kept reversing it. He got top position. It was crazy ground and pound, basically dominated, which was sort of surprising because Figgy actually, besides his loss to Jan, had looked really good at bantamweight, even though I thought maybe he'd be too small for the class. But Corey is he's just getting better. He's evolved because he's so good on the ground and the feet. And then, of course, it ends in injury. As I mentioned, it was sort of a little bit marred there because it was such a great performance from Sandhagen. But it was also surprising. Figgy kept trying to in the round one, he should have got up. He was just letting himself get hammered, trying to get these knee bars and eventually I don't know what he was doing. And so kind of I know he had trouble with the weight cut, bad performance from Figgy. I think he needs to go to flyweight, and we are going to be talking about bantamweight division today, so this is perfect. But anything, and I'll go to you first, Rich. Is there anything more you wanted to mention quickly on the Sandhagen?
No,
Figgy
I agree
situation?
with your analysis now. I agree with what you said on the previous recap. I think Figgy, unfortunately, we've just seen the best of him, right? He had a great run. He was in a lot of those battles. He's taken a lot of damage. He's incredibly talented. Did he look good in his recent fights? Yes. One of those wins was against my guy Cheeto, who I love. But Cheeto's, notorious slow starter and doesn't offer up enough early on to really make the fights as competitive as they need to be, and from a fight-to-fight basis. So I wasn't too surprised. Corey's a ultimate professional. The guy, is constantly working on his craft and becoming better with each fight. So, it's kind of what I expected to see, to be honest.
Got it. Anything, Nico, you wanted to say on this, or you think we pretty much covered it?
Yeah, quickly, I feel like that his technique and his athleticism stands out and has always stood out for me in his history. And I just think now the door's open for him, where he might be, I think he might be next in line for a title shot. Is that fair to say after the O'Malley fight? He might be the next, and if not, it's one and then.
Yeah, they're one fight, right? Yeah.
That's it,
I agree.
Yeah, because you got Jan and you got Umar still ahead of him. We're going to look. Normally, I would just pull it up right now, Nico.
But we're going to do it.
Yeah, we're going to do that later today. Yeah, then we're going to, but anyway, still unbelievable performance from Sandhagen. I was a little worried about this because he was pretty heavily favored. I'm like, really? I thought this was going to be much more competitive, much more close, but still overall good night of fights. So let's go. Now, let's get jacked up. Okay, I'm going to set the stage. UFC 315, Muhammad Della Maddalena from Montreal, Canada. I love the international crowd. They were going crazy last night. Major crowd noise. They were into it from the early prelims. Like, what a great night of fights. And it's so funny because I kept saying my bullshit about like, oh, it should have been Rakhmonov, blah, blah, blah. Della Maddalena shows us why it shouldn't have been Rakhmonov, baby. Unbelievable. So let's just go through this really quickly. The only thing I want to say here is Malat, he could be somebody in that welterweight division. It was a close first round, but Malat hit him with that amazing punch in the second round and just dispatched of him. He could be a rising star at 170. The one thing I will say, though, is a lot of times on these local cards, you don't know, right? Because they sometimes, not that Radke's an easy out, but sometimes do you know if Dana's giving them kind of like, a fight Malat's going to win, or is it really that he's going to be a top 15 guy? It's hard to say.
Or is he just hyped up because he's fighting in front of the home crowd? You know what I mean? That definitely plays in as well. So
yeah,
I agree with you. He's got talent. I don't know if he's going to be rising through the ranks to the top, but he could be somewhere, in the top 10, top 15 of the rankings and cause some problems, I think, for sure.
And then one other call out before I get to the main card. Jasmine Jasudavicius, if I'm saying it right, okay? She steamrolled Andrade, and we all know she's an ex-champ who used to be a bulldog. I mean, it was like I thought this was going to be a much more competitive fight. I saw that Jasmine was favored, but I didn't think she was going to roll through her. This is unbelievable. And now that the women's flyweight is a little bit, all of a sudden new stars there because Valentina wins, but was very close. She barely won the decision. You have Silva coming. Now you have Jasudavicius, baby. Yeah, and so there's interesting new grappling phenom coming in at 125, making this a little bit more exciting. Anything to say there, fellas?
Yeah, I like the grappling side of it, right? Because, that's when we see fights with Valentina, a lot more striking, right? Stay on the feet, so that she could be a real problem for her. I think Andrade's just, post-COVID years, time's flown. It's been a little bit since she's been a champ, right? So she's on a downswing. I think that was a massive win. It's going to be interesting to see what she does with that grappling at the top of the division. She could be a real problem.
Okay, well, now she's number 7 in the world at 125. Another person to look out for. And we're going to talk about Silva and Shevchenko in a second. So, main card. Now, of course, we were a little bit bummed because this was supposed to be Saint Denis Alvarez, 13 versus 15 in the world at lightweight, which used to be Nico's favorite class, right? And so there was major attraction there because Alvarez, after losing to Arman, had been on that roll. Saint Denis had been on a little bit of a slide after being up against Poirier, looking like the Saint Denis killer, and then losing to Moicano. I was like, oh God, so they gave him Propolek, who stepped in literally on a week's notice. He had won a bunch of fights outside of the UFC, but he hadn't been in the UFC for 6 years. He was game, but Saint Denis was smart. He knew that he couldn't get his 3rd loss in a row. He used the grappling right away because Kyle's only chance was, hey, stand and bang with this guy, and then anything can happen. So Saint Denis, he wears him down. He gets round 1. mauls him a little bit near the end, but Propolik was still in it. And then round 2 started
Gutsy, man.
on
He
the
was
feet.
tough. He was tough to put out, man.
Yeah, because remember Propolik even had a couple punches, and I was like, oh shit, is Saint Denis gonna wilt again? Because sometimes his cardio can be the problem because he looks like a monster in the beginning and then gets reversed or gets hit. Then Saint Denis, of course, ends up getting the sub in the second round and does what he should have done. Almost more pressure on him, because if you lose this fight, that's big problems to lose an unranked guy in a week's notice. But I will say that's good for his morale, right? And so he'll be pumped to reset himself. And now maybe they rebook the Alvarez, or he gets another guy right around that 10 range. I'll go to you, Nico. Anything else you wanted to add on the Saint Denis Propolik situation?
I really like what you just said about the confidence level, because he had been on a little bit of a downslide. This fight gave him a chance to kind of reset himself, set his sights on those 10, 11. I went a little bit ahead of him for the next fight. I also really appreciated, we forget in this sport, it's a tough sport, what these fighters go through. And I was really appreciative of Benoit at the end of that fight after he got the submission. He stood there with Kyle. He kind of like, you could tell it was basically saying to him, like, bro, I understand you came in on short notice. Yeah, you took this 100%. Fight. That was insane for you to do that. And I could tell, like, in that moment, he kind of felt with this guy, like, who had just got some, he had just basically choked out, and he was like, okay, are you good? And they just had a good moment there. And I felt that was a nice, to see that sportsmanship from Benoit. And so, and he's been hovering out in the bottom of the pack of the top 15. Let's see now if Benoit can could kind of make a run. I don't see it. I don't have the full confidence that he's going to, make some insane run further to the top, but at least it's a reset for him, and he's getting his confidence back here.
Quick, guys, let's just call brass tacks, right? So is my picks counting for this one? I know I didn't get to lay on the previous episode.
It does not count, baby. It does not count.
I think that my picks counted off air from the chat previously.
Yes.
So I'm making these picks count. Okay, Richie Boy went 4-1 last night, so let's make that established. I will be laying picks for future cards. Okay, but with that said, and on the record, listen, I think you guys were both correct in your analysis here. Saint Denis, he needed a little bit of a slump buster, right? He had a rough go. He had that loss, real tough loss with Dustin. I think he had a staph infection, probably from a health perspective, wasn't doing great. Obviously, that's, I think, what kind of led into the Moicano loss. He kind of got dominated there. We did not expect that. But, is he going to be a champ? I think I agree with Nico here. Probably not. Could he work his way up towards the top 5 and potentially, fight some future contenders? Yeah, I think so. So, former ex-Special Forces guy, obviously the mentality's there. He's got the weapons, right? So I think he can move up. I don't think he's ever going to touch gold, but he could be a problem, somewhat of a legit gatekeeper for the division.
Yeah, you forget, actually, like in that fight versus Dustin,
he was up.
How he was up.
Yeah,
like you just reminded me of that, Richie. Like, he was up. He was scary. You said to me, "Oh my God, he's taking Dustin out here. He's got this." And then Dustin turned it around.
Yeah, and everybody was crediting Dustin for taking that fight towards the end of his career, a new young killer. You know what I mean? So that was a guy that was on a rocket ship trajectory, and it's been, it's been some bumps along the road, but I think he gets back up into the top, but I'm not sure.
But either way, exciting. At least Saint Denis got to stay on the card. It wasn't the fight we wanted, but it was, even though he's not Canadian, he's French, so he's got a lot of fans there, so they were going nuts. Okay. Yeah. Now let's start raising the stakes, baby. The rest of the night was pretty nuts as far as rankings go, right? And as far as the intensity and the importance of the fights. Grasso Silva. I mean, Grasso was just the fucking champ just last year, right? And then finally lost to Shevchenko, but she's still the #1 contender in the world at flyweight. That's why women's flyweight's a big topic today. Versus Natalia Silva. I blew it with this pick. I should have studied Silva more. I didn't realize she had won fucking 12 fights in a row and hadn't lost in 8 years. Wally's intel was not clean on this, and I saw she was favored, but I just felt Grasso. I always have gone Grasso, except for that final Shevchenko fight, because her boxing, that Mexican boxing, is so special. And I just thought maybe Silva was coming up in class, maybe a little bit too much, and she was going to deal with the superior striker. And holy fucking shit, Silva looked like a new something new, man. She was like dancing. She had great kicks. She had great strikes. She was faster than Grasso. I've never seen someone literally outbox Grasso, but because she had more in her arsenal, she was throwing the leg strikes, and she was so fast, throwing the punches, right? And just basically dominated Grasso for 3 rounds. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Grasso, at least to her credit, late in the second round, she tried to corner her. She tried to throw shots, but a lot like Bully B, Silva ended up socking her more as soon as Grasso tried any of that.
Yep.
I mean, she's so athletic. Even Cormier, I believe, said, oh my God, did she play other sports? Because I bet you if she played soccer in Brazil, she could have fucking went pros. This girl is a problem. She's now going to be the #1 contender in the world. She basically outclassed Grasso the entire fight. There was not even, maybe the second round, Grasso was at least finally in it, but she barely landed. And I was texting the whole time, holy shit. And Silva Shevchenko, that looks like the fight you make next. What a duel that will be.
Yeah.
So I'll go to you this time, Richie. What do you say to this? Because you can see I'm hyped. I haven't been this hyped up maybe on a women's weight class in a while since Amanda left.
Yeah, well, I'll say, first of all, my pick is in and my pick won, right?
Your pick landed,
so start
baby.
there. Pick landed, baby. I said to you guys in the chat, she showed up to the press conference in a business suit, ready to do business. And that's exactly what she did. She came in, to your point, speed, distance, everything was incredible. She was just a level above Grasso on the striking period. And Grasso, like you said, former champ, it's easy to think, right, to lay with her on the pick. But, Silva just has too many weapons. She's young, fast, all the above. And, she really outclassed her. And to your point, Grasso did dig deep there and try to close her against the cage, and it just didn't work out. She took more damage, and I was very impressed by Silva. I think if she goes against Shevchenko, I'd take her in that fight. Mm-hmm. I think the way she dances around and moves around the ring, I think Shevchenko's always been a little bit robotic, and to a striker with that keeps that distance so well and has the speed to get in and out, I think it's a problem. And I love Shevchenko, but this is really exciting. I'm with you, Ari. Looking forward to see what.
But hold on, before we punt it to Nico, that is Shevchenko's world, though. Valentina is the striking phenomenon. Maybe she's had a lot of mileage now, though. She's older, right? And Silva looked like the next thing,
speed.
like
the speed, baby. The speed is going to beat that.
Maybe is the problem.
That's what I think it is. Yeah.
But fuck, if they stand, we've never really seen, besides Nunes when Shevchenko went up, anybody to be able to outclass Valentina just straight kickboxing. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm going out on a limb here. I'm saying I think Silva's got the minerals to get it done. Okay?
Yeah, I mean.
Nico, what do you say here?
What stood out to me was from the moment the bell rang, I'm looking at Grasso, and when they just look at stature, I know you don't go by just the physical abilities, but Silva's legs bigger.
The athletic stature,
stature. She was just a beast compared to Grasso. And then you immediately realize how quick and how fast she was. And this word you use, dancing, she was using her hips to feint kicks that was like, oh my God, it was scary.
I almost have never seen that before. Yeah. That's why I'm saying this was something new. Anyway, continue.
Okay, now that's all I wanted to say. So I think you put Silva now up against Shevchenko. I don't know. I could see her doing phenomenally well. She had a little bit more creativity versus that robotic, predictable Shevchenko style, that persistent. So let's see what happens. I think she does have a statement to make here, and she has a case to make for the next in line.
And I think there's something about when someone's just that comfortable, it's her world. We're living in it, right? She has that aura about her. She's going to do what she's going to do, and she's going to be a problem, and she's not worried about what's on the other end, right? And that she just has that aura about her. So I think we're looking at a future champ.
I mean, it was a master class. And she even as soon as it was done, she raised her hand. There was no doubt. She had all 3 rounds. It was just like, holy shit. I haven't been since Amanda left, like Shevchenko Grasso trilogy and Rose kind of moving to flyweight. And you're like, yeah, I guess there's Zhang Wei Li, but I haven't had major excitement for a women's weight class in a while. And I feel like, holy shit. With Jasmine just below, with Silva right here, and Shevchenko there, but dwindling. I mean, she barely beat Ferro, if at all. Right. Now, there's a lot of excitement all of a sudden at 125 here. Okay, let's move on because we're going to cover that again in a second with Shevchenko. All right, I'll set the stage and I'll go to you guys. Okay, big fight here. Jose Aldo, Sahabi. 11 in the world, actually at bantamweight. So this was sort of interesting because I think that I missed this a little bit because Rich is on the embedded. Wally was fucking, not paying attention. Was there a big weight miss by Aldo? I almost missed this.
Yeah, and I think this
so that's why they ended up just fighting at featherweight. Because it was supposed to be a bantamweight fight. They're both ranked bantamweights.
I don't remember if they did a catch weight or how they did it, but he missed weight. There's no doubt about it.
He missed weight, came in at 143, I think.
Oh, yeah, so that's why. If he came in at 143, that's 8 above the 135. You see what I mean? And so they ended up just saying, okay, we'll fight at featherweight. That's interesting. Right. So Zahabi had to agree. But anyway, I got to say, it was nice seeing Aldo back up at featherweight. So for people, the rookies on the call, because Nico didn't get to see a lot of the old school, Aldo was the featherweight king forever. And then he recently, after finally being dethroned by Holloway, right, he then went down to bantamweight for one last chance, but he doesn't look like the same jacked Aldo that he used to. So it's almost kind of nice seeing him a little heavier. And goddamn, in that first round, he looked great. It looked like the King of Rio was back, baby. I was all pumped. I took Aldo. Richie and I both took him. Nico was smart to take Zahabi. And round 2, that's the big round that decided the fight. I thought Aldo did enough. I'm a little bit pissed about this decision. I know Zahabi rallied a little bit like late in the round and Aldo was slowing down, but I don't think he did enough to win the round, but the judges disagree with me. I'm pissed. And then in round 3, Aldo almost has him finished. He hits him with this unbelievable kick. I can't believe it doesn't KO him. He has it. It would have been an easy unanimous Aldo, 29-28. And then he just all of a sudden gasped with 3 minutes to go because he had put so much into trying to finish him. This is what happens when you get older, though, right? And then Zahabi just completely took over and almost, and it was a mistake by Zahabi, even though he ended up getting unanimous. I think he bailed Aldo out by going and taking him down. And yes, he almost finished him with the elbows, but he should have just made him stand up and he could have got a knockout. Anyway, I still think, though, and I'll get your guys' take in a second, I think Aldo should have won this 29-28. It was very, very close. I almost need to rewatch it, but I don't hate it because at the end, you clearly saw the winner of the entirety of the fight was Zahabi. I guess you could argue it that way. But I feel like we maybe got gypped a little bit here. I'm a little bit unhappy with this decision. And then the final story is Aldo retires. And maybe we need to bring up the Smith commentary here, Nico. So this is normally what happens. A fighter goes out like this, where they kind of have a bad decision loss. They then had a terrible weight cut. And even Aldo at the end is like, I can't do this anymore. These weight cuts are killing me, especially down to bantamweight, right? And then they just retire like that. So I guess going back, you're now happy that Smith got to do it his way, even though it shouldn't have been a co-main, but that's a different argument. So let's go to Nico first here. Nico, anything to add to my Zahabi Aldo commentary here?
Yeah, I mean, look, Jose looked good, came out first round looking really good, but it was a very close round. I felt it could have gone either way, even the first round, but I give it to Aldo. Second round, Zahabi, again, very close, could have gone either way. This is a weird one where those first 2 rounds could have gone 2-0 Aldo or 2-0 Zahabi, or they could have been split 1-1, and I would have been fine. I get it. But that third round was the decisive round, and Aldo had him halfway through, knocked him down, but he gassed himself. Zahabi comes and gets on top of him and just slices him up and completely really just dominates the rest of that round. And he gets the victory. What was interesting, and a little small thing, and I don't even know how to call it, but his style was weird. Zahabi has this weird,
very unorthodox
stance movement that I was like, what? I hadn't seen that before. And it almost looked like I didn't like it. I didn't like that style, but he was hanging in there with Aldo. And I did feel like when he did land, there may have been a little bit more high impact, Ari, when he was landing a little cleaner and more high impact. And that's what maybe have gotten him the rounds, and gotten those points in the first 2 rounds. And even in the third round, it's just, he just had a little bit slightly more cleaner, more impactful shots.
Well, that's just to jump in, Nico, the judges gave him round 2. Aldo got 1. Zahabi got 2 and 3 pretty much across the board. I was unhappy with that anyway. Continue.
No, I'm good.
So, Rich, anything to add here? Do you think this was a just decision? Are you pissed like me?
Yeah, I'm not pissed like you, man. I think it could have gone either way. It was a close fight. I think I tend to lean towards Nico's take that he did land the bigger shots, and you saw it on Aldo's face at the end of it, man. That cheek looked like it was broken, or orbital bone or something. He had taken some serious damage. And when you see someone just gas out to the point where they're completely defenseless, and it's been a close fight up until that point, I think it's kind of hard to give it to the other guy, right? So I'm not mad at the decision. It was close. Aldo is a legend. I think not enough people realize who he was post getting knocked out by Conor, to your point earlier, right?
Yeah.
He was the king for a long period of time. He's had an exceptional career. It's rare that you watch a guy fight that's already been inducted to the UFC Hall of Fame, and he's still out here doing it. So to your point about the retirement fight and that kind of thing going down, could they have done something like that with Aldo? Yes, but this is a guy who probably should have retired 2 years ago, right? Even though he's only 37, 38, he's got a lot of mileage. You know, I think he's one of these guys who wanted to keep pushing the envelope, switching divisions, see if he could stick around and be relevant. He obviously still has the pedigree. He just doesn't have the stamina. He can't make weight. It's these are the issues that just Father Time catches up with everybody, baby. And respect to Aldo, incredible career. I think the new school fans don't recognize how important he was to the sport. So just hats off to him. Wish him the best in retirement with his family, and great career from Jose Aldo.
So what I meant, Rich, more was it wasn't planned. You see what I mean? Normally, this is how it goes.
Well, no, that's kind of what I'm talking about with this thing. Like this is a guy who should have retired a while ago, right? I know. Like you're looking at someone like Poirier who just dispatched to Saint Denis. You know what I mean? So this guy is retiring at the right time, is self-aware of where he is in his career, and I think the UFC is going to cater to that in a different way.
Yeah, I know. The point I was just trying to make is this normally is how a fighter goes out. They kind of have a tough loss. They say, you know what? All right, that's it. I'm done. Yeah, versus having like this big plan thing that's very rare. So that's why I was trying to say, okay, I like the Smith thing more now just because this is an example of normally, and it's always kind of a shitty feeling. You go out and maybe even won that fight, and he has got to sit there being like, oh, I ended with this bad decision loss where I kind of got.
And it looked like when he was sitting against the fence, to your point, he was feeling that way. I think he thought he did just enough. And he wanted to go out on a high note, and now he's got to accept that he can't get himself back in for another camp. He's just got to lay him down and retire, sort of ungracefully, or ceremoniously, I should say. Right. Yeah, I agree. No, but I'm so just on that point quickly. I think this is where UFC is being smart and evolving a little bit, right, and giving these guys their credit. These are warriors. They lay it on the line. They put their faculties at stake for the rest of their lives, post career. And so to see them start to try now, we can argue whether where they should be on the card and all that, and that's fine. I don't even care if they're up in a co-main or they're the first fight of the main card. That's all good with me. I just do think it's good that they show respect, and I think it in the fact that they're not necessarily compensated like other sports are, that the very least they could do is give them some ceremony on the way out, especially when they're self-aware and retiring within some sort of normal time frame of where they're at.
Yes, and I'll agree with you, Rich, as long as they move that BMF to the co-main. Because otherwise I'm going to lose my shit, baby. Okay, let's move on.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll go. Okay, so co-main, great fight. I mean, holy fuck. I was worried about all my picks tonight because I knew Grasso was risky. I knew Aldo was risky. Even Shevchenko, Ferro had been so impressive in her last couple fights. I'm like, man, how do you doubt this new French beast? She literally is fucking called the beast.
She's big
for a reason. She's really big. I'm surprised she's not a bantamweight. She probably used to fight at 135, but she's just so advanced. She knows how to cut down to 125, but she's fucking huge. But Valentina, man, right off the bat, breaks her nose basically in round one with that unbelievable punch. And that ended up doing dividends throughout the whole fight, because if she didn't have that in round one, she might have not won this fight. So she takes round one. But Ferro, to her credit, she comes back and she grinds round two. She probably grinds round three with like an old school couture, control them up against the cage, a little dirty boxing. Don't let them get space. It was impressive. And then it looked like, holy shit, Ferro might win this fight in round four. Valentina drops her at the end of round four to make it 2-2. And then it all went down to the fifth round. And Nico might even have a case of Ferro had more control and she did a little bit more, but Valentina did get that one spinning back fist in that seemed to have more damage than maybe Ferro really had. And so Valentina squeaks out the decision 3-2. And I think most judges had it that way. I think I need to go check the scorecards and exactly what rounds landed where. But I think Valentino got 1-4 and squeaked 5. If Ferro had got the decision, I wouldn't have hated it, but I liked Valentina getting it because when she did do her damage. It was much more impactful than what Farrow really did throughout the fight. She just kind of tried to manhandle her and kind of get a more of a control grappling wrestling win. She never really landed much strikes to Shevchenko. So Valentina stays the champion. And now instantly the story is, are they going to have Silva fight Valentina right away? I think so. Let's just, for the sake of it, let's just look at this class since we're all hot on it right now.
Who else are you going to throw up there? Exactly right.
So let's just look at it really quickly. Okay. So this is what's interesting. Barber and Blanchfield, the 3 and the 4 spot, they are fighting in 20 days. So 3 versus 4 is booked. Farrow now has lost. Silva jumps up. Grasso now has lost. She's going to have to reset her career then, figure out what the hell she's even doing. So I say, like, unless Valentina needs a lot of time off, book that fucking fight. Because Blanchfield, Barber, they're already booked, and I don't think they both really deserve title shots unless one of them has a dramatic win in that fight.
Quite honestly, and if I'm honest, I think that the way Silva looks, she's going to run through either one of them anyway, right? Let's just get straight to it, like you said. Unless Valentina needs a lot of time off, if she needs, rest or injuries or whatever, she's a little bit older of a fighter. Yeah. She deserves it, right? She's got the pedigree. She's been active, all those things. So if anybody deserves it, it's her. So yeah, but I mean, you can make that Silva fight right away, and then 3 and 4, have their option for the next shot.
Okay. One thing I'll say about the Shevchenko fight in the 4-0, I think, is what you said, Ari. Is like, if you look at the end of the fight, the damage. If you looked at Manon's face compared to Shevchenko, Shevchenko had a clean look as if she hadn't even fought, but Manon was beat up. She was beat up and busted up. So I do think at the end of the day, push came to shove. It came down to the impact, the damage, that Valentina was able to, inflict. Relative to what Farrow was doing, she was scrappier. Like you said, she wanted to fight in that sort of close up, grappling and just up against the cage. I think ultimately Valentina did more damage, and that's what got her the win.
The only thing, though, I would say, Nico, is sometimes don't let that fool you. Just like how Wally doesn't always love the significant strikes. Sometimes the damage on the face, that could have been 1 round, right? And then 4 rounds, the other person then wins. So yes, you're right. But sometimes I don't like to look at that because it's rounds, baby. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yes, Shevchenko broke her nose in the first round. But then if Farrow wrestled her for 4, she then would easily win. But yes, you're right. I think overall the more damage. But anyway, Rich, any other color?
Yeah, no, I just agree with that.
I think this fight here.
I think what you said about the damage early, it doesn't matter when the damage happens, because what she continued to do is still hit her in the face and keep blooding her and open her up again. That's so actually, if you listen to any of the pre-fight stuff, that was what Valentina was saying she was going to do. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to hurt her early, and I'm going to put it on her. And she did that, and she got some in the bank, right? That helped her out later in the fight and helped her get past the grappling. And then, a straight jab later on is going to reopen that cut and make the damage worse again. And you can build on that for the rest of the fight. And I think she did. And it wasn't, a huge margin of victory, but I agree with Nico. I think she got it done, and I think the damage was worse.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of things in the women's flyweight division. Okay. Main event. There's a lot to discuss here. Holy shit. Fight of the year, maybe one of the better fights we've seen in multiple years. Yeah, I have an issue with it, but let's discuss. So Belal, Jack Della for the welterweight title, UFC 315 in Montreal. Now listen, Belal did say, I got Canelo hands, I'm going to stand with him. And I even kind of made fun of it in that clip you guys saw, the fans saw that was popping off on YouTube yesterday. Yep. I didn't think he actually fucking meant it. Listen, I thought he would maybe stand with him in the first round, maybe feint, change levels, maybe fake a takedown, something, and then maybe stand with him for the first round and kind of see how it goes. And then if that wasn't working, like how round 1 kind of went, because I thought Jack got round 1, then fucking go straight in. Don't throw the belt away. So anyway, Belal hung in there. I mean, he definitely was in the fight, even with just the striking, and he did go for some takedowns finally in late round 2, late round 3, and then he committed more by 4 and 5. But it was just too little, too late for me. He let Jack get comfortable. You don't want to stand with this guy. We saw why. I mean, Jack starts really cracking him by round 2. It turns the whole fight. Belal's in it. At the end of round 2, the corner should have been like, dude, you might be down 2-0. take this cocksucker down. What are you like doing here? Don't just try to stand and bang with this guy. And round 3 was more of the same. Jack wins round 3, even though Bully B was in the fight. And then finally by round 4, he sort of like realized, oh shit, I might be like losing this fight. He finally gets a takedown. The one thing I will say, yes, Jack was defending him really nicely, but that's because Belal wasn't as relentless with them like he was with Leon or even Wonder Boy or any of those wins all in a row.
And a big part of that is because he was bleeding all over the place, which makes him very slippery, baby. Hard to hold on to a guy when he's literally bleeding all over you. So that's
I get it, yeah, but if he had done it early before that was happening, maybe he wouldn't got to that point. But like, so then, yes, give Jack credit. Even when he did get the takedown in round 4, Jack did stand up. The way Jack dealt with the takedowns was unbelievable. It's like he's a whole new man. But I still feel like Belal let him off the hook and mostly just had a kickboxing match against this fucking guy, which is the last possible thing you'd want. Now you get to round 4 and 5, at least Belal came forward and he even maybe outstruck him in round 4, hurt Jack's eye. So you could say it was 3-1, maybe 2-2 on it. And then in round 5, Belal, by then he couldn't get the takedowns anymore. It was like too slippery, like you were saying, Rich, and he was too tired.
It was too late. He was exhausted.
It was too late. I think he finally got like sort of like a half one, but then Jack got up, and then near the end, man, Jack goes nuts and socks him up and got the unbelievable shots to pretty much cement. And one judge had it 4-1, other 2 judges had it 3-2, which actually meant that it was all coming down to round 5. The fight actually came down to round 5. So I'll let you guys take over in a second. I will say, Jack Della, one of the best performances we've seen in a long time. I'm very happy for Australia because I love Volk. I love those guys, right? But I will say the stain on this fight forever for me that Belal had a terrible game plan. He should have been taking him down right from the beginning, tiring him out, at least testing the takedown. And if he couldn't get it, then you stand. At least by the second round, he basically threw the belt away. He let Jack off the hook. We'll never really know now, unless they ever fight again, what would have happened if Belal actually had a proper game plan in place. I'll go to you, Richie boy, first. What do you say to that?
I was going to let Nico jump in before I rip you apart, but since you called on me, let's go.
Go for it. Go for it.
So I think you're falling victim to standard problems of a lot of MMA Barneys. You're doing MMA math, bro. MMA math does not add up. The math doesn't math. You see Belal as this incredible grappler. You get gassed because you see Brady now grappling crazy and doing what he did. Grappling works when guys don't strike. Grappling works when guys don't keep distance. Grappling works when guys don't have heavy-ass hands. Grappling works when guys can't swing it to the body and swing uppercuts. All problems that Belal had to deal with. It also works when guys don't switch stance well. All things Jack did. Everything that you're saying about the Canelo hands and all that, a lot of that I think was gas. I think Belal is, I'll talk a little trash on him now and I'll celebrate him in a second. Belal, one of the corniest champions of all time. I cannot stand his trash talk. I used to be a big Belal guy, the original remember the name Belal guy. I was on that train. Then after that first Edwards fight where he was getting pieced up by Leon until the eye poke. And then he started crying. Now, I don't mean crying literally in the ring. I mean crying on social medias afterwards, just literally whining about how it was unjust and he's, so defeated. And now all these other guys are getting shots he deserves. And he was just this big, squeaky, annoying wheel for so long until he got the chance to rightfully so win the belt and then dismantle Leon the way he did. Okay, so all just due in getting the gold. Now, what he did last night was incredible from just a heart and grit standpoint. I haven't seen a fight like this. When you talk about where does this fit in all time, I mean,
it's an all-time fight.
I'm a little gassed up last night. I got a couple drinks in me. I'm like, this is a top 5 fight, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. It's
not a top 5. Is it top 10? Potentially. It's definitely a top 15 all-time fight. This reminds me of Rory McDonald, Robbie Lawler, even reminiscent down to the split lip at the end. These guys stood and banged. Now, was Jack outclassing him the whole time? Yes. Could have Muhammad gone for more takedowns? He could have tried, but I don't think it would have changed the results. I think what you were seeing there was a result of Jack's footwork and his craftiness and the way he strikes and the angles and the heaviness of his hands. And mind you, massive credit to Jack. This is a guy who broke his arm a year ago, right? Yeah. Massive layoff. I think over 12-month layoff. And he comes back and looks even better. I mean, we were all doing the MMA math on what happened with the Burns fight and the fact that he was getting grappled, the better part of the first 2 rounds until he took over with that massive knee in round 3 and finished him. But I mean, the guy he's leveled up. right? We haven't even seen that. That's just all the hard work he's been doing behind closed doors. So I got to say, I'm just hyped up on the fight in general. It was massive. Credit to Belal. I will call you corny because you are corny, and that's fair. Not everybody, has the gift of the gab and can talk trash like some of the greats. But I will never talk shit on your MMA pedigree, grit, wherewithal. I mean, just incredible. And he's going to get better too. That's a scary part, right? So in fights where guys don't keep distance as well, Belal's still going to be a massive problem in the division. And I've never seen anybody take a punch, let alone that many punches, and keep coming forward and still having his wits about him. You know what I mean? There wasn't a point where I looked at his eyes and go, oh shit, Belal's not there. He's just rocking, socking robots. You know what I mean? It wasn't that. He was there the whole time. It was incredible. Just hats off to both of them. Super happy for Jack. He deserves it. Belal came into the fight with a lot of pressure, world on his back, Palestine, all the above, and he put on an incredible performance. I think it's very rare you see someone gain followers and gain respect in a loss, and this is one of those moments, and just hats off to both of them. Incredible fight.
So Nico, before I punt it to you, let me just say one last thing though, Rich, that still is like, here's the one thing is like, I love the fight. I'm with you, and maybe you're right. Maybe Jack could stuff takedowns better than we thought, but I hate when there is a tool that someone is not using to help them win the fight, even if it ends up being a more boring fight. I would have much preferred Belal went for takedowns early and Jack stuffed them. And then it turned into that fight. And they're like, oh shit, wow, okay. And then, but there's still, to me, the first 3 rounds, he went for like 2 takedowns. It's like a baseball team. They're going to go out and they're going to execute, or a football team. They have a game plan to win with their advantages, and he didn't use it. He basically had a fucking kickboxing match until the 4th round. It's still just, no matter how you slice it, it's ridiculous. And he fucking lost the belt. Anyway, Nico, what do you say here?
Well, let me just go back, because when I think of Belal, I also kind of have in the back of my mind some of the things that Richard was talking about, that online sort of whining and complaining that he's kind of been known for. I also thought he got saved by the injury, quote unquote, when his first fight with Leon Edwards. Do you remember that, where he was losing outright to
totally
Leon,
agree.
and there was some injury, and then kind of saved him.
Yeah,
an eye poke, the eye poke, right? And then it's kind of saved him from really facing like a clear-cut defeat there. But since then, he has really righted that ship and grown as a fighter. And with I think he was working with Khabib, right? Yep. And that pedigree. And I think he became a sharper striker, even better grappler than he was, and became the well-rounded champion that we saw show up in the ring last night. And I don't know if what happened there, I think it was a little bit of both, basically both of what you guys are saying. On the one hand, I do believe Belal felt he can go in there, and he had a cockiness about him as the champ, and say, I actually might be able to stand on my feet a little bit with this guy, and let me show him that I can take him at his own game. Okay? And stand. Fair. And eventually I could always go to the grappling if I need to, and just take care of the fight a little bit later. And I think maybe that was what was going on. But to Richie's point, Jack, I mean, this guy looked bigger than Belal, taller, kept the distance. His footwork was incredible, right? Just amazing movement. The angles, as you said, Richie, and that got to me. I thought the trick of the whole fight, the entire fight, was the jab. It was the secret that the announcers weren't talking about it, but you just kept seeing Jack's jab that was really getting to Belal, and that's what was stopping him from being able to shoot and stuff. It was just, he constantly had this jab.
On a broken nose, too.
Yeah.
To your point.
So,
I don't know when it was broken, but yeah.
Yeah, at some point he broke his nose, right? So I think Jack Della Maddalena has arrived, okay? He has arrived. And we don't know what to make of this right now. Now, we're talking about one of the best fights, top 10, 15 of all time, maybe. But I definitely think welterweight, if you talk about best fights of the welterweight class, this might be 1 or 2, right?
Well,
ever.
Okay, don't count out my huge Trig.
Which one?
Trig fights.
Yeah, I'd have to go back.
There's some clean ones, but
it's up there.
Top
it's
5,
up there.
top
it's
5, 170.
Okay, but bottom line, Jack Della Maddalena proved himself. He did outright win that fight, dominated across the board. He had lost maybe 1 round. At the end, Jack's burst and surge at the end, where he almost was going to basically take him out, right? And he went
almost
for it.
Finished him there.
Almost finished him. Beautiful. And this guy now is dangerous because he is proving he can stop that takedown. And so when you start hearing that potentially Islam might be coming up, you're like, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Can he neutralize Islam here? Because so that's all. I'll leave it there. I'll keep it short.
To your point, Nico, he was training with the Dagestanis. He's training with Islam. He was training with Khabib. He's been
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
No, that was smart from Muhammad. And I think to your point earlier, against that first matchup against Edwards, he realized that he had a lot to work on, and he went and he did the work. So I got to give him credit there. When I get to talk about his corniness, his smack game, and all that, I think is trash and is for the garbage. But his work inside the ring is just incredible. And you know what I mean? It's because he chose to go and do that and put the work in with those kind of guys. So yeah, we are getting into that dangerous MMA math area, right? You know what I mean? Where does this apply to the next fight, the next matchup, etc. But I agree with you. I agree with you on that take wholeheartedly.
So final thing I'll say is I want to be more excited for Jack because I am super pumped. But to your point, though, again, Richie, Khabib must be pissed, bro. You're training with Khabib. Listen, all I would have needed to have seen is just in the first couple rounds, 3 or 4 more shots, and then I would be complete. It would be over this. We could put it to rest. But like, if you train with Khabib, man, Khabib must be fucking pissed. Like, that's not anyway.
Yeah.
We'll put
I just think you're slightly discounting the footwork. And a big thing, if you go back into Jack's fights, he throws a lot of these hooks, these Roy Jones low hooks, right? And uppercuts and stuff, which, and good knees, right? You see that against Burns. So I think that's in Bilal's mind the whole time. And I think it is probably somewhere in the middle, right? To Nico's point, that he thought he could work a little bit better with the hands and set up, the level change and everything, and it just didn't come to fruition the way he wanted to. And when he did try and was successful, Jack got out of it, and the blood probably had something to do with that. But either way, I mean, just impressive on both sides. What an incredible fight.
Incredible fight.
So I will end it there. What I want to just quickly do here is I'm going to total up our pick count. I had a really off couple of nights. This is good for Nico, but you only gained 1 fight on me.
One or two?
One. So on the Sandhagen figure, we both went 3-3, so you didn't gain anything there. Last night, I go 1-3, you go 2-2, so you gained 1 fight. What swung was the Shevchenko decision. If you had hit that would have given you that, but we both, but so it was just Sahabi that you smartly got, which I should have then fucking got the decision back. So I'm a little bit pissed about that. But either way, now I go to 36-19. That's still clean, but I had a big blemish from the last couple of weeks. Nico goes to a 30-25. It's now a 6-fight gap. Okay. And Richie, of course, now will finally
unofficial
be
4-1, right? But we'll start keeping some track going forward, all right? But
yeah,
I'm off to a good start.
And at least with our, if you were to touch Shevchenko, hit for us, because I believe said, hey, Shevchenko, she was actually the good underdog. Pick. Let's take her. So if we were back in our gambling days, Shevchenko would have won us money. We would have just barely got on the decision. Okay, so before we move on to the next piece here of the show, let's just take another quick commercial break. Really quickly, and I know we do this every time, the news here is no news, but we have a lot of speculation. So let's quickly discuss it, because the Jack Della fight, for all the MMA fans out there, we all know that from Dana's press conference a couple days before, basically the new story here is that if Jack Della won, Islam was going to go up. Not that he's relinquishing 155, but that he wants to become a double champ. That I'm for, because he has the frame to go up and he's done enough at lightweight to dance, unlike the Topuria situation, but we'll fight about that later. So what probably is now going to happen, because we've even seen Islam come out online, Jack Della saying it's okay. I don't believe anything till something's fucking booked, though. But it looks like it's going to be JDM Islam probably fucking way later in the year. They're going to make Nico wait. He's not going to be happy about that. They're probably fucking wait all the way till Abu Dhabi or some bullshit. Nico's going to be fucking putting up a picket line pretty soon on the wait for
watching
that.
at 10 a.m.
because JDM also needs time to recover. He took a lot of damage there, even though we had that win. Now, so for this card, there will be no Islam, right? But the rumor then was that if JDM wins and Islam was going to fight JDM, then it's going to be Topuria Charles for the interim belt. It has to be an interim belt, because if that ends up being a main event, which I think is bullshit, that should be a co-main in my eyes. but at least I believe that's now the fight. Armin's kind of getting pushed out of that equation because I think that Charles is a bigger fight because he was the champ, right? And he is coming off the win against Chandler, although it was close.
And he didn't miss weight and pull out last minute like Armin.
Right.
You know, Uncle Dana's still got him in the in timeout.
Yeah, so that's probably what's going to happen, but we're still lacking. Let's just talk really quickly. No way that Jones and Aspinall now is going to happen here. I mean, we're less than 2 months away.
Why?
So because there's there's no contract signed. There's no. I don't think.
Let's
Jones
be honest, guys. It's because of Jones. Let's call it is what it is, right? Respect to the GOAT. You know, if you want to call him that. But this whole thing of I've fought 4 times in 6 years. I'm holding up divisions, wasting guys' prime years. It's disrespectful to the sport. I have to say, it's disrespectful to martial arts, right? The respect level is everything in martial arts. No one is bigger than the sport. I wish when we saw the white smoke come from the Vatican the other day, the news was the fight is signed, baby, and let's see this. It hasn't happened. It's honestly kind of disgusting at this point that John does this and drags guys' careers out.
Right.
He's stopping Aspinall, hasn't fought now in what, eight
Another
months
fucking year or something
from getting a paycheck
ridiculous.
to support his family. And honestly, if I'm Aspinall, I move on. Let's fight Gone. Let's And Dana, make him vacate the belt, baby. This is ridiculous. The guy's had 2 fights, one against a guy that hadn't fought in 3 or 4 years, and another one against a guy that'd been in the UFC for a cup of tea. You know, and then jumped up to the top of the rankings, right? And his previous 2 fights before that were not clear, decisive wins at lightweight. Like, I'm just over it, guys. So I have to rant
Richie,
on that.
I am so with you on all the entire commentary right there.
Yeah.
Because I've been on that train, and I'm sort of at this point where it's a breaking point. I mean, now UFC 317, it's like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, or like the Tomb of the Unknown God. Have you heard about that? Where you're sitting here, there's a blank slate. You're 2 months out. You're like, what's going on? It should have been filled by Aspinall Jones months ago. I mean, 6 months. Like, it should have that's the next.
It's been 8 months
do.
Since Jones fought.
Yeah,
8 months.
I mean, come on. So, you know, all I got to say is they need to do what you just said. They just move on. We need to move on. It's
if it kills the fight, it kills the fight, right? Like, at this point, you just got to.
Yeah, so move on. We're now a month and a half away, basically. So this is what I'm saying. There is rumors, because remember, Dean Thomas came out and said what you're saying there, Rich. So it could be Aspinall Gone still for the interim, and then Topuria Charles for the interim.
You're gonna make him fight for the 3rd interim belt? Get the fuck out of here, baby.
Might end up
Vacate it.
Vacate.
If Jones wants it, come and get it. You know what I mean?
You know what's going to happen, Nico? What's going to piss me off is they're going to be like, Pereira, Ankalaev 2, the main event.
But I would love that.
If that happens, but Aspinall Gone in the co.
Actually, let's talk about that, because that's more in the realm of reality, right? Let's just be honest, okay?
Sleaze, but anyway.
Is it that sleaze, though? Because there's rumors that Pereira, for one of the most active champions we've seen. The guy was incredible. Felt like he was fighting every other month there for 2 years, okay? He finally gasses out. Doesn't look right. We can all agree on that. Yeah. Say what you want. He did not look like himself in that fight. There's rumors that he had a broken wrist or a wrist injury or something, or a broken hand. There's rumors that he was sick. If either one of those is true, maybe it leans to why he just did not look ready on the day. So I would rather see that rematch. Like, fill that in. It's still a hot fight, and we can put this to bed, and you can move on from the shame that is part 2. It's going to happen, right? So just accept it. Let's get a fight booked. Let's make it happen.
Exactly. Let's make it happen.
I just think the final commentary, and I made this last time, is this what I feel like last year, 2024, this happened a lot, where no one's signing contracts. Islam, Jones, they're all taking forever to take fights. And then these big cards come up, and Dana's scrambling to fill BS. Like, this should have been filled 3 months ago or 2 months ago, or at least a month ago. And we're still sitting here. Yes, we were waiting for last night. So I guess, but I feel like even Topuria Charles for the interim, that can't be the main event, I guess. Wouldn't even be that pumped if that's the main event, because if Charles was still the champ, maybe.
But I think you'd want to see a real strong co-main. So if you put like Alex, put that as a main, and you put Alex as a co-main, I'm good with that. I think that's a good
those two right there. That's beautiful.
You know what's probably going to end up happening is, like, they're going to have like Pantoja Moreno 4 is going to pop up because it's a title. So you could
it's like Pacquiao and Marquez, man. How many fights do we need
there or something that's going to all of a sudden pop up? But I can't believe they're making us wait. Anyway, okay. So I just wanted to show this. At least now we know that probably Islam goes to welterweight. He then waits for Charles Topuria to fight, and then Islam comes back to defend there. That's probably what's going to happen. All right. The other news that is the probably the biggest booking that we just heard, and this is the complete opposite because this is a very fast turnaround, okay, is Whitaker to Ritter,
Let's
baby.
go.
And this is going to be already, boom. See, Nico approved turnaround. July 26th in Yas Island, baby, back at the UAE. So I'll set the stage to get your guys' feelings. So Whitaker's coming off that loss to Kamaev. We all thought, how is he going to come back after the jaw break? He still always looks great. He looked great leading up to that, though. But De Ritter now is this new force, of course, defeating Nickel. But the thing we don't know is how good is Nickel. So we don't know how amazing that win really is. But now De Ritter has won 3 straight. Meerschaert, Holland, and then now Nickel. So he has won 3 straight. He was the dual champ over at 1FC. I think this is a scary fight for Whitaker now because De Ritter's a big fucking middleweight, man. He's 6'4". But every time you usually doubt Whitaker in these fights, he ends up having a master class. I feel that maybe Robert does it one last time for us here and is able to, because he can also avoid the takedowns because he's got really good base and decent grappling himself.
He sprawls great too. Yeah.
And he's probably going to be better on the feet. But we've doubted De Ritter before, so I don't know. But I love the booking. I love how quickly De Ritter is saying, fuck it, fast track me, unlike these other bums we were just talking about.
Yeah, this is still a fight business, right? Like, we're still in this business to make fights. Like, let's go. This is what should happen, right? This is what everybody should be doing, barring injury. Yeah,
so what do you think here, Nico? Are you pumped on this? Because I know you mentioned this
I'm very
earlier.
pumped about the Whitaker De Ritter fight here. Whitaker, after he got his jaw mangled and just completely discombobulated. You wondered, could he ever fight again here? Right. And here he's showing up against, this guy is strong. The Ritter guy is big, for the division. So if Whitaker can get his movement going, because when he's in his zone, in his flow state, and he's, in his striking state, if he can get that going, and De Ritter's not disrupting it with shooting or with any of the grappling, and he can get that flow, Whitaker has an amazing ability to win this fight. And I kind of lean like I want to take him, but I'm worried about the power of De Ritter because the power, if he lands some shots that can knock Whitaker off, then I think it'll be a quick night. So I'm worried about it, but I still lean. I would take Whitaker there. If I was back in my day, I'd be Whitaker all day.
Just so before Rich goes, right? Whitaker's still at number 5. De Ritter's at 13. Richie boy, anything to add here? How you feeling?
Yeah, no, just like I said, this is the fight business. If you're not hurt and you're not injured, take the fights. Let's get the best 2 against each other and make it happen. Whitaker has always been game. He's never, this is a guy who took on Romero, Izzy, just all the killers, like, bring it on, let's go. And when he loses, he shakes it off and he moves on to the next one. There's no cobwebs from the previous fight. He's not going to be worried about what happened against Hamzat. He's moved on. The jaw's been repaired and strong, I'm sure. I think I touch Whitaker here, and this is no disrespect to De Ritter and all of his weapons and talent. I think it's just a styles make fights kind of thing. And Whitaker just, it's like every other fight, he shows up and dominates.
Exactly.
And so, that's what you were saying. So I expect the same, Nico. I expect Whitaker to show up big here and just, get an impressive win. And I don't think it derails De Ritter because I think it'll be a tough fight. But yeah, I think Whitaker is just due.
Yeah, so anyway, very excited about this great booking. We needed something because we didn't really have a hot booking because we've been sort of staring at this blank slate of fucking UFC 317. This popped up and we all lost our shit. So at least we had one. I'm very excited about it. And boom, it's already July. It's a couple months away. I love these fast turnarounds before you know it, but we're going to see this fight, right? So we're going to skip ahead, right? Okay. So this is what I always do. I'm not going to go so deep into this, but, just for the younger fans, this will be a good throwback for Richie since he's been around. Nico missed all these years, but obviously we talked about this because we've gone from the larger weight classes to the smaller weight classes. We talked about featherweight last time with Aldo and Connor and all that stuff. Bantamweight was even smaller. So I think even longer, there was some disrespect towards that class because, these are tiny guys. It doesn't matter, and it really took like a Uriah Faber, I guess you would say, right, Richie? So like, go back to the WEC. Faber was probably the biggest, earliest bantamweight star just like how Aldo put featherweight on the map, I would say Uriah Faber put bantamweight on the map,
100%,
right?
yeah.
And so of course, then during the merger, Faber was a star, right? And he had beaten a fellow by the name of Dominic Cruz back in the WEC, if you remember the fucking history. But then, so they match up, and I believe Cruz, Faber have an early UFC fight for the title, and then that's where the era of Cruz begins, Nico. You need that background. Cruz takes out Faber, and then he has that insane run. Cruz is like the champ on and off for years. You know what's funny is I like him a lot in retrospect now, but I don't know about you, Richie, but I never liked Cruz back in the day. He danced too much for me. I don't feel like he really did a lot of damage. He did pitter patter. He danced. He avoided the action a little bit too much. And so I didn't really like love
He was
Cruz.
a technician, to your point, especially with the whole significant strikes, and we won't open that wound right now. But like, yeah, he was a guy who would touch a lot, right? But not do damage a lot. And, you know, outclass guys. Not that he didn't do damage at times, but he wasn't known for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
so
I agree with you. Yeah. And Uriah kind of like, we wish we would have seen him in the UFC, a couple years sooner.
Yeah, exactly. Because by the time the merger happened, his better days were behind him. His really great
California
dominant
kid.
days were the WEC. Now, then going back to Cruz, and you'll remember this, Richie, finally he's dethroned by Cody No Love, right? Remember that fight?
Man,
finally
that
was
was that
so
whole
enough, fast
dancing,
enough to deal with them, and he actually caught him with those big punches. And then you think it's going to be the Garbrandt era because he looked fucking spectacular. I didn't like, you know what's funny though? I didn't like when he was gloating in the fight and he was doing the Cruz dance, but fine. I thought it was a little bit much. I never loved Cody. And then Dillashaw came in and fucking all of a sudden dethrones Garbrandt, right? And then, of course, that's where then Cejudo shows up and he dethrones Dillashaw before Dillashaw has all those injuries, right? So then you get at the present day. Cejudo then retires, right? And now you're kind of looking at present day bantamweight, but you need to know all that history to really know how we got here. So now I'll quickly lay this out and have you guys throw in some color and some opinions. I wouldn't say a couple years ago, this was starting to be, and Nico, you remember, I used to say bantamweight was in my top 3 favorite classes. I think it's dwindled a little bit, but you still have amazing action, especially at the top end of it. Merab O'Malley. This is booked Merab O'Malley 2 in 1 month from now. So we know that's booked. Merab now is this new unstoppable wrestling champion, the Machine. O'Malley has a shot, but we'll save that for later episodes when we do our takes. But we know that's booked. Petr Yan, who had been the champ, right? He had been the champ during that little layoff after Cejudo, and I thought he got burned with multiple bad decisions. God, some really bad decisions kind of shamed his career a little bit, but he's still right there, the number 2 contender, because he had some big wins recently. Umar almost beats Merab, but fucking Merab doesn't, keeps his belt, which is so amazing. But he's right there. They're both very exciting contenders. And then Sandhagen just came off that huge win against Figgy. So I love everybody in that top 4. They're all potential future champions. Yadong, I like him. He's still there, but he needs to grow a little bit because he kind of goes up and down. He has a great win, and then he sort of has a lackluster loss. And I think he still maybe has a shot. At least he's still an exciting number 5. And then the weird thing is you get to the middle of the pack. I know Richie might disagree, but Figgy, I feel like you got to go back to flyweight, bro. I think maybe you're done at bantamweight. Maybe that's a little bit quick for me to say. Vera's fallen off because he's not getting the vicious knockouts that was sort of propelled him, and he's getting wrestled. He's getting outclassed, but you do have Vera. I just looked this up, Richie. Vera is booked against Bautista. That's at least nice to have something booked in the middle of the class. I feel like Font is just a great striker, but he doesn't have the grappling. So Hudo is basically on his way out. He probably has 1 retirement fight. Aldo now has retired. And then if you look at the bottom half, Kyler maybe, but he got set back a little bit against a Font loss. McGee, I don't know that much about. I know he just had a big win. Montel Jackson, Nico, remember he had that big win? And then Sahavi, I'm not that impressed with him, but I guess he's hovering. So I would say I like the division, but really it's the top 5 that is the most important part of the division. And I feel like maybe we need new blood over the next couple of years because I think 6 through 15 is a little stale now. I'll go to you first, Nico. What do you say? Give me some color on what you think here.
I think O'Malley injected life, his fandom, his cachet injected life into this division of the last couple of years. And he got to the top and then he was dethroned by Merab. And so I do think this next fight here, this championship fight will be will really, define sort of where the trajectory of this class overall, just where we are with it. Because if he were to come and actually beat Merab, would be absolutely miraculous. I mean, it would be a massive, massive story.
Yeah.
Right. And it would just like propel this class into, have historical sort of ramifications. And then you start wondering, well, what happens to Merab if he does lose? Where does he go? Who fights him next? I don't know. But I do 100% agree that the story here is in the top 5. There isn't a lot to talk about in the middle of the pack or in the bottom third of the pack.
Yeah.
I did see some life with Jackson and Zahab. I do see Font maybe having a little bit of life and something to bring to the table, but it's really in that top 5. And either Peter Yan, even, I don't know if he can take back and get close to a championship again. So it's really though Sandhagen for me, Umar, maybe Yan, but O'Malley and Merab that right now are the elite of the division. I would like to see a quick fight booked, guys. I want to see Sandhagen get his next booking. Who's he going to be put up against next? Just like we saw, what was the fight where we just saw a quick turnaround fight that was just booked. I want to see that same thing with Sandhagen. I need to see it soon. Right. Let's get it done. He didn't suffer a lot of damage. It can happen. Who's next?
Well, just really quickly jump in and then we'll let you go, Rich, is that, well, Corey's got to wait now. He's got to wait to see what happens with O'Malley versus Merab, which is in June, True. Okay? And then they're going to see, does he need to rematch Umar or does he need to rematch Yan because he fought both of them before and get one more, or are they going to give him an instant title shot? I don't know if he deserves it right now. Richie, What do you think?
You got Cheeto just hanging out, and I know I'm a big Cheeto stan. I'll admit that, Costa Mesa via Ecuador stand-up. But I think that he could he's a slow starter. He's had problems with that. He always, even in the O'Malley fight, was a problem at the end, came close to potentially finishing him in that last minute. Like he's not a guy to be discounted completely.
Yeah, we've forgotten.
Will he touch gold?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Will he touch gold? I don't know, but I think he can still make another run. So I'd like to see maybe if Vera beats Bautista, maybe we match him up against Yadong and he can jump up the rankings a little bit and then maybe take on a winner of Peter Yan and Nurmagomedov, and then we see what happens there. Sandhagen should be in line for the next shot, winner of Merab O'Malley. I agree with Nico. I'm glad that O'Malley's in the division. He brings some excitement to which has been a pretty boring division outside of Yan and some of the strikers there. Sandhagen's fun to watch. He's got creative striking. I shouldn't say he's boring, but that you don't see as many finishes.
Right.
So yeah, it's exciting. I'd like to see this movement, but I think you guys are both right. All the action's sort of in the top 5, 6 sort of fighters here.
Okay, yeah. So the final thing I'll say is, I don't know if they will book Yan Nurmagomedov right away because they might also wait to see what happens with O'Malley. So that's kind of holding it up because it's only 30 days away, right? So it's So anyway, all right, everybody, I hope you love this. This is one of our favorite things, the analysis of the division. I wouldn't say bantamweight is a top 3 division by any means right now, but still in that top 5, it's very exciting. Okay, and so let's take one last commercial break. All right, baby. And for our final section of the night, it's our world famous picks, savvy picks, and the analysis of the upcoming cards over the next 2 weeks. There's only one fight night, which is not good in the long run because when there's a bye week, Wally fucking loses his shit. At least there's a PFL, which we'll talk about another time.
Okay.
There's a fucking PFL, which we might end up having.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. But.
Yes. So Burns Morales, let's get hyped. Okay, so let's get hyped up. UFC Fight Night. Burns Morales, listen, it's at the Apex and we have fucking problems with it. It's not a packed card. So we're going to be kind of, but at least it's a good matchup. I'll take it. It's a decent matchup in an important division. You got ranked guys. We're going to quickly go through the main card. And what I do have for both of you is I have the lines. We got Julian Erosa versus Costa, who's on a 3-fight win streak. But we did also just see Erosa beat Elkins. Just so you guys can both see. Costa is a minus 225, okay, because they're pumping him up. He also had a quick turnaround. You like these quick turnarounds, Nico. So even though I want Juicy J, and I have a feeling Richie Boy is taking Juicy J, I'm going to go with Vegas because I got slaughtered this past weekend because I got a little too cocky. I'm taking Costa. Richie, I'll go to you.
Yo, just Juicy J, baby.
I knew it.
That's it. Yeah, how can I not take Juicy J?
Nico.
Costa.
All right, going Costa. You're going with the favorite with me, Brazilian.
With
I will root Juicy J with you because after that Elkins win, I do like him, but I feel like Vegas must know something we don't. Maybe he's going to wrestle him. He is, a minus 225. All right, so let's keep moving on. Dustin versus Razubiev. Hopefully I'm saying these names right. So I had to look this up. I'll also give you guys, we got an Uzbekistani versus a United States fellow. Right, Razubiev is a minus 295. He's actually very impressive. I've seen him before. He got a big win, but Stoltzfus is also coming off a big win, so I'm a little bit torn, but I'm going to go with Vegas. Razubiev, that's who I'm taking. Rich, who do you have here?
Yeah, I don't have much to go off here. I'm going with Uzbekistan at this point, right? I think it's going to be just a gritty grappling wrestling attack probably that wins a decision. I could be wrong. But
yeah, I'm in the same camp here, Ari. I'm going to have to go with Razubiev, but Dustin, I'm going to be rooting for Dustin and hoping he can bring something, something good to the table here.
So I have a little bit more of a discussion on this next one. Yusuf was a featherweight rising star. He actually was ranked. He was in the top 15. He fought Arnold Allen a long time ago when they were both hovering right around there. Allen won, and then he, skyrocketed, and Yusuf kind of went down. Then, if you remember, Nico, we had Yusuf fought Barboza, and Yusuf came in there and won round one, and it was like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. And then he faded. He went too hard to try to finish Barboza, and then Barboza wins 2 and 3. And so since then, he's got derailed a little bit. What it looks like he's done is he doesn't want to cut the weight anymore. He's gone up to lightweight. But against Santos is another scary Brazilian. And if you guys look at the line, Santos is actually favored. He's a minus 146. But what I'm going to do is go with my heart pick. I'm taking Yusuf, baby, even though he's the minor underdog. Nico, who do you have here?
I want Yusuf too, man. So now I'm just we're mirroring each other so far. So I'm with Yusuf.
Unfortunately, I'm here today, fellas, because I'm taking Santos. Okay, so we've got some opposition here. I think Santos
bring a little drama.
Yeah, young rising star here. Yusuf, I think he might be in trouble.
Okay, that's good. That's interesting. At least now we have some contention between the picks. We got the co-main. All right. You can't have, in any circumstance, I can't see Paul Craig in a co-main. Maybe when he was off those big wins, when he fucking submitted Krylov, but he's lost like 3 straight. It doesn't even look like he's like in the fights. It's like the Smith thing. I'm like, what are we doing trotting him back out? He's not even ranked anymore. And this is a co-main against Bellato, who's, I think he's a pretty scary guy, but he's also off a loss. So I'm like, Dana, what are you doing here? I don't care that it's an Apex card. I'm pissed about this because I'm kind of giving you my Dana Light card analysis with my picks here. So I'll let you guys chime in, but this is just like, guys, okay, so hold on. Before I make my pick, we did the math offline, Richie, right? There's 8 male weight classes, 3 female weight classes. That's 165 fighters. But the thing that I didn't discuss or analyze is let's do this 165 times 3 because they fight 3 times a year, right? So that technically means you have 495 fighters to maybe pick from per card. And you're telling me that you can't get any other ranked people in the world. I don't care that this is a weekly card or 3 times a month. You have almost 500 ranked fighters to go through. If you do the math that way, you can't have this as a co-main.
You're doing math that doesn't equate, baby. Okay, so 3 fights a year. I can tell you who's not going to fight 3 times this year. John Jones.
Yeah, okay.
Islam Makhachev.
So lower it to 400. Fine, take the 95 out.
In a real world, if you're just plugging numbers, that works. It doesn't work. It's hard to fill 3 cards a month, let alone 2 solid ones. You're going to end up with duds like this. We can argue this to the teeth on a future episode, but that's why you have Paul Craig in a co-main event, right?
So is he deserving of it? No. Yeah. I'm going to inject one thought here, and this, again, not for now, but maybe we can talk about later in a more in-depth, but why don't we consider and think about separating the unranked and the ranked and really just have cards that are
No.
focused on the ranked. The unranked become sort of like your NCAA versus NFL. Keep that as a
Or
separate
like contender series kind of.
And they keep feeding those that rise in and some fall back. Just like in soccer internationally, let's create more of that premium and like what is the sport, the top of the top. So that's a different topic. We don't have to talk about it now. I just throwing it out there, but I'm gonna just say I'm taking Bellato here.
Yeah, and just so you know, I disagree with that, Nico, but because it would be too hard to do.
I like the creativity.
You need the
I like the thought of we got to do something different, though.
Yeah, but and easily Bellato is a minus 500. So it's like
hard.
We're touching Bellato. Richie,
I'll go out on a limb with Nico. I'm touching Bellato as well, baby. Let's go, Bellato heavy.
So then the final fight, the main event, and then I think also the main event is not that great because this fight was actually supposed to be on the Montreal card. They just grabbed this because Dana can't book of the 400 fighters he has. Dana can't fucking book them for some fucking reason. So he had to move this over to have a main event. Burns has lost 3 straight. Yes, Morales is undefeated phenom. He hasn't looked that impressive to me in his fights. He's decent. He's getting the wins, but they're usually like tactical wins. So I think Burns has a chance, but he's lost 3 straight, even though, yes, he was up on Jack Della, and then it was the late KO. So I like it, though, because it's the welterweight division. Morales now is a minus 620. So I'm touching Morales just to be safe because I got socked up in the last card here. Richie.
Man, this is tough. My gut, now to your point on the Burns 3 losses, they don't, he always fights such top tier
guy. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just really hard to judge him on that. With that said, taking the knee from Jack, he's been taking a lot of abuse, that real big war he was in with Hamzat. You know what I mean? He's been through some battles. I'd like to think maybe getting close to a swan song here. This is maybe a last big win for him and he takes out a young guy. My gut is telling me Morales, but I'm going to go with the heart here. Let's go Burns, create some opposition. Let's see if he can do it.
I like this. Wow. What are you doing, Nico?
Richie, I'm actually going Burns as well. I'm shocked you pulled that in. That's awesome. No, I think Burns is exactly it, is that, the quality he brings to a fight and having fought the top of the top, when he's had a little time to get healthy again, to reset. Yep. I don't know. Maybe he takes out this like young gun that's coming through and he does. And listen, if it were to touch, that's when I would touch too. Right. It's got huge upside, plus 450. You take it, you put a little bit, you throw on that, and it got a lot of upside.
Plus 400. So you actually help. Yeah. So you actually helped me, Nico, because that was the last one. I didn't actually have any good if you were to touches. So I'm just going to say, let's just use yours. We're going to do 1 if you were to touch. It's a crazy Burns upside. Maybe he wrestles him. Maybe, Morales is still stepping up way in class. I mean, Burns was just basically fighting for the title 2 years ago against Usman. And it was actually winning in one of those rounds, if you guys remember, before he got hit by that big punch.
I think it was 3 years ago. But
3 years ago? Yeah. Okay, that's clean. That's what we brought you on, baby, to correct Wally. But I'm just saying, he's still been fighting all the top talent just right around the corner, as you just said. He just fought the fucking new champ. So he's got a shot. I like our picks. Okay, so then sadly, we don't have anything after that. We've come to the end of the show. Before I do my outro, Rich, how was that joining the team, baby?
Yo, guys, very happy to be here. Opportunity not only to, share my thoughts, but defend what's been indefended on these previous podcasts. Wally taking unofficial shame picks and putting them in the chat. So it's nice to defend myself. Coming in 4-1, feeling really good about that. This card is obviously not something any of us are super fired up about, but hopefully I'm in the winning column, for the most part with these picks here. But no, very happy to join and be on with you guys. It's been a blast. If you'll have me back, I'll be here.
And the one thing I will say, the funny thing is, because we are MMA addicts, once that card comes on, I'm still going to be jacked up, baby. But we just like to, I still want to complain leading up to it. Yeah. But if there's no card, that's worse, baby. And that's why I'm going to keep fighting with you about you can't have less cards because Wally can't have bye weeks, baby. Yeah. So with that, thank you for listening to the Wally Report, the world's hottest podcast. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube, and we're blasting hard on the talk, and we're heavy on the gram at the Wally Report. And now we're taking over on YouTube as well. Our YouTube videos are popping off. It's the new hottest place for TWR and MMA savvy video content. That's at the Wally Report. We've actually been posting amazing video clips from our episodes on our social channels, so don't miss out. And please make sure to comment on Spotify, comment on Instagram, comment on TikTok and YouTube. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.